Good morning, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Samanashi, located in Yerushalayim here, Kodesh. We are learning Turkey. Let's start that over again. Matisyahu will cut that and start again. Take two. That won't go on YouTube, I hope. Okay. Good morning, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Samanashi. We are learning Mishna right now, the second shir of our day. We're located in the Haneki Yeshiva Bet Knesset, not too far from the central bus station here in Yerushalayim, here at Kodesh, on the Movavi Yaakov number 6. So if you're coming, you can take a walk from the bus station, you can bus from there, drive, and if you're coming from Furst, when you're flying to Eretz Israel, please come and join us for our shir. We'd love to have you here. And now we're in Kuf Hey, in Orach Chaim, Mishna. The discussion here is if a person, for some reason or other, we'll see what the Mishna has to say about that, what cases arise in such a case. The person has to pray two tefillas, two Shmona Esrei back to back. For the reason that he has to, what he has to do in such a case. Let's take a look inside. Any volunteers to read?
I'm following state tefillas Zohar Zuv. Somebody has to say two Shmona Esreis one after the other. Hamken bein zu lezu, he waits between from one to the next. Chiloch arba amos, and the amount of time it would take to walk 4 amos. Ve'shetehei daito yusheves lispahal b'lashon techina. In order that his mind should be settled, to be praying with a lashon of supplication.
Right. It shouldn't just be something like automatic, right? So if a person has to daven two Shmona Esrei back to back, Zohar Zuv back to back, so he has to wait between one to the next, the time it takes to walk the 4 amos. And this is in order to collect his thoughts and his mind be settled in order to pray properly in a fashion of supplication. Okay, let's see the Mishna what it has to say about this.
State tefillos can go to Shachris and Musaf, like Shachris and Musaf, or Sheshachach, Lois Pav, Tzarech, Hashlima, Zman Tefillah Shalachov, Mispal Shayim, or somebody forgot and you did not say one of the Shmona Esreis.
Okay. So we have these two classic cases, right? Shachris and Musaf. So again, let's say, for example, persons usually you'll have. If you're davening with tzibur, it won't happen that you're davening one back to back. Well, let's say for some reason he's davening the yechidus, for some reason, and or even a woman. Let's say they don't come to the base Knesset, so they're davening shachris, and they're going to start right away with Musaf, right? Or let's say a person forgot and he didn't daven, and he has to do a shlama. He has to do a makeup. Therefore. So then he's going to have to daven 2 tefillas back to back, and then he'll have to wait. Okay, V'hinei.
V'hinei lefi mashe yivar b'simen kafches, and we'll explain this in simen kafches in Mishna Berura. The bein sheshachach arvis mispal shachris shtayim v'salim, whether he forgot Marav, and he's going to daven twice during shachris. The bein sheshachach shachris mispal mincha shtayim. Or he forgot Shachris, and at Mincha time he's going to make 2 Shmona Esrei to make up for it. So it's called Ashrei Bein Tefillah Tefillah. He has to say Ashrei between the 2 tefillahs.
So let's analyze. Let's think about that for a moment. Again, as the Mishna said in Kuf class, he's going to explain. Now, let's say if he forgot to daven Ma'ariv, and so therefore he's going to say Shachris twice, right? Or if he's forgot to daven shachris, he has to be davening 2 minchas. So in those cases, he's going to have to say Ashrei bein tefillah le'tefillah.
Exactly where we put it in.
Oh, that's a good question. Good morning, Boots. Come on in.
Good morning.
That was exactly what I was wondering why. If you forgot Ma'ariv, he has to daven 2 shachrises, 2 morning prayers. So where's the Ashrei that's going to be inserted?
It says you know how to do it.
Oh, so Just to forget, we'll get to what the Mishna says in a moment, right? But
Yeah.
so, because it's difficult to understand where this is gonna actually, because what's the point? If you could be saying Ashrei, so the halacha that we have here, that the Daled Amos, obviously by saying Ashrei, you would said it had waited enough time, right, that you don't have to wait the Daled Amos, right? This spot? No. This here, and thank you so much. Okay, so right, so because if it's going to turn out, okay, between mincha and mincha, okay, so you have to daven and say an ashrei in between the first mincha and the second. I mean, we'll have to see what that's really over there in Kuf Ches. But where the shachris, between two shachris, you have to say an ashrei. We'll see. Let's finish up this Mishnah. Maybe we'll take a look over there in Kuf Ches to see what the Mishnah was directing us to.
Lo yitzar din zeh rak b'shachach tfilas mincha and ishpalim arvis shtayim l'hasham. You really only say this in the case of you forgot a mincha and you have to make two marivs.
Right, because in that case, right, if he didn't daven mincha, so now he's davening two marivs, so there's nothing in between the mariv to the next Ma'ariv, right? There's, but if you're davening two chakrases or two minchas, so there's an ashrei that has to be inserted into, in between the two davenings or two prayers you're going to be saying.
The sham lo yamar ashrei, you don't say ashrei, k'no shemavor sham, the Mishna Berura, it's explained here in the Mishna Berura, I guess in Kaf Ches. Yitzorach al kol panim lahamtin k'dei arba amos. In this case, this is the case we have to wait the time to walk 4 hours. Only between the two marivs.
Right. Okay. I think maybe we'll take a look over there in Furst. Okay, quick pass, I'll tell you where to start. That will be,
It is?
yeah, I believe it's Siv Base, right? Siv Base. Kuf Ches is described, Misha lo yispalo l'sibas tos or oinus or b'mezid. A person who didn't daven for the reason of he made a mistake, or maybe he thought he davened already and he didn't have to daven, but he really did. Or oinus, there was some compelling, involuntary reason why he didn't daven, or something he was amazed. He decided to sleep late. Yeah,
Get off the plane and your passport control.
that's an oinus, I guess. That's an oinus, right?
Okay.
You try to avoid those flights. Yeah.
Sometimes they change the time.
Yeah, they delay. You get delays. And
You're
yeah,
stuck.
Right.
Tavlo is Bays. Tavlo is Pal Mincha.
We all have the place there. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody forgot and did not, or made a mistake and did not have a Mincha. It's Pal Arvish. He says 2 Marivs. Rishona Arvis Vashia Tashruma. The first one is the regular Mariv, and the second one is the Tashruma, is the completion. Okay. Tavlo is Pal Arvis. If you forgot, he made a mistake and did not daven Mariv. It's Pal Shachris Sham. He has to praise 2 Shachris. Arishon Shachris and Shnia Tashruma. And the second one is the makeup. L'achar Sheyomer Yotzer Ushmona Esrei Bracha Sheyomer Ashrei Nachach Pal Shmona Esrei Lachshumim Arvis. So therefore, it says if he is saying Shachris, you make up the Mariv. So after he says Yotzer and Shmona Esrei, then he goes back and says, and then he continues and says Ashrei, and afterwards he says the Shmona Esrei of Mariv.
Right. So therefore, it'd be more trying to understand why there's an ashrei inserted in the in Tamari. Let's say in that case he didn't daven in Aminka, so he has to say Shmona Esrei for Mariv, and he has to Tashlimi for Minka the second. So he has to insert an ashrei between his first Mariv to his second. Go ahead, let's see, there's the brackets there. Kein Spala Arvis Dayim.
V'kein Kishir Yisrael Arvishtayim, Mishum Shalo Hispal Mincha, and similarly when he has to say two maras, because he didn't say Mincha, Imra Ashrei Ben Tefillah Tefillah. He says Ashrei between the two tefillahs.
So that's, okay, the Mishna Berura by us said that would not be the case, right? By us, the Mishna Berura said, so we're going to have to see, we're going to look at the Mishna Berura in detail over here and see what is going on here. Okay. I'll just review the Mechaber. Tov lo ispal mincha, a person made a mistake, did not daven mincha. So he's mispal arvish time, has to daven 2 myras. Okay? Arishoina arvis, the first one is arvis, and the second is the tashlumim. Like Tov lo ispal arvis, let's say he made a mistake and didn't daven myriv. Mispal shachris shtayim. He has to pay daven 2 shachris. Rishon shachris, the second is tashlumim. Okay, now, the Akashiyome Yertzer, he said Yertzer Shmona Esrei, Brachos Yoma Ashrei. Then after that you use Baal Shmona Esrei, Tashlumei.
Which Ashrei is this? Balzion? Is that Ashrei?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
But you should say Balzion and then daven the second time.
Let's see the Mishnah. Try and see the Mishnah here. And he says, "We came to Yispal Arbish time, Mishum Shalom Yispal Mincha." Yoma Ashrei, Bein Tefillah the Tefillah. So that's what's in the brackets here, right? Which I think is different than what the Mishna Berura said by us. The Mishna Berura said by us, I'll just read it to you, that Lo Yitzur Din Zerat B'Shachach Tfilas Mincha. Mispal Arvish Shtayim L'Shlomo, right? So the Sham Lo Omer Ashrei, Kamu Berura Sham B'Mishna Berura, right? So Mishna Berura may be going to be arguing on what we just read in the small print in the Mechaber, right? We'll see. Okay, let's take a look at the Mishna Berura, beginning with Sifkat and Yud.
Okay. Shachris Tayim. He has to say 2 shachrises.
You want the spot?
4 lines in the bottom. What your layout is, it's down here. Okay. We've also called Kodem Shespal Hashmiya, and it's also deep before he says the second Shemon Esrei. The Hakvar Higias Mano, because its time has already come. Yehisodeno Maase, if he began and did not interrupt, Ken Kasur Magen Avram, this is what the Magen Avram says. I guess if he started eating, he does not have to stop, and that's what the Magen Avram writes. About the Sefer Maxis HaShekel, Maxis HaShekel writes, the Sefer Magen Giborim, Ichriu, Dafilu, Dieved, Mafsik. Even if you start eating, you should definitely stop and say this from Esrei. You should the Tzorach La Hasmich Hatfila Hashniya La Rishon, because you have to make the second Shemona Esrei close to the first one, but Chol Mash After as much as possible.
Right. So okay. So Ismail davened Shachris. Now he's hungry. Now he just finished davening his first Shemona Esrei for Shachris, and he's hungry. Nevertheless, it's usher because he has to fulfill his Chiyuv of Tashlumim. He didn't daven Meyer for some reason last night, so he has to say 2 Shemona Esrei. So he's hungry. So he can't eat before he davens the second Shemona Esrei.
And what's all this thing of saying Asher? You're still going to have to wait. You can't do it together. You still have a wait.
Yeah, he's going to be waiting, but that's what the Mishna Berura says. He has to samich the Tefillah Hashniya l'Rishona Kol Mashe Efsham. I mean, as much
But
as
saying the Asher is not cause much Asher either. It's Arba almost it takes 3 seconds.
Right.
But Asher is going to take you 3-4 minutes.
Right, exactly. But we still don't understand why the necessity of saying Ashrei exists.
Okay.
Right? We'll have to see what the application is. Here we're talking about the fact that he wants to have a couple of rice cakes and some hummus right now. And he's hungry. No, you got the daven.
It doesn't matter what time it is?
Well, hopefully it's before the Zman of
So
Tefillah.
he got up at 6 o'clock.
Right.
Sunrise is 6 o'clock. He
Right.
started davening.
Right.
Now he finishes his Shemona Esrei at 6:30.
Right.
So he can't stop and eat now?
No, this way he has to make up. He's got to say 2 Shemona Esreis.
I understand.
Right,
I'm
so-
asking him, can he stop and have
No,
something to eat, because it's way before this month?
no.
Okay,
does that have to do
it
with that?
could be, it could be, as Alman said, it may has nothing to do with it. The fact that you have a chiyuv to daven right now, meaning you may have more time in the day before the Zman, Sosman Tefillah might be 9:15, and it's 6:25, right? Nevertheless, you may, because of the fact that you need to have a chibur, a connection between the first chakras to the makeup chakras, you're not supposed to interrupt with eating. Could be that's the reason. You're not supposed to maybe when he gets a phone call. Maybe you're not supposed to maybe pick the phone call either. Right? As much as possible, you're supposed to make it one right back to back. Why that is, so I'm not sure if we're gonna have time to go into all the details today about it, but that'll be certain relevant to understanding what the source of the halakha is all about. Why should this be? Okay. Because I see the Mishnah Berura says the reason, he says aslo kodem shispal shniya the hakvar hagia zmana, meaning you have a chiyuv, right? You have a chiyuv to say the second davening, meaning you have a choice. I'm hungry, I have to daven. The second, the makeup. So your obligation to make it the davening for the second, the makeup, is more important than your hunger right now. Again, if a person's in a situation where he's so hungry that he can't concentrate on his davening, that's something else. That's another dimension of asking a shayla. But let's say he's starting to like that, a cup of coffee. He says eat. He didn't say drink. And so also a point. What about drinking? He only said also to eat. What about he wants to drink? I don't know.
You drink water, can't you?
Again, if it's because he has to make a smichus between the two, right?
Could be, maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe he wants to brush his teeth. Maybe not. Right? Like it's like this is what you got to do. You got to daven the first davening, and you want to make a tashlumim. We're kind of jumping into the whole subject of tashlumim, which is there are a few simanim about that before you get a whole picture. What is Torah's tashlumim? Why should you bichlal have a opportunity to make up a lost tefillah? So he was an oinus for Meir. He was bemazed by this. He went to sleep, right? Just like the Gemara in Bracha says, right? You come home, right? You eat, and you say, "Oh, you're gonna daven later." In the end, he's gonna go to sleep or wake up in the morning. And what happened to Ma'ariv? So the Chazal said it's also to eat before you daven Ma'ariv, right? Well, let's say he did it anyway. He did it very bad. The Gemara speaks very badly about a person who does such a thing like that. Right? It's terrible things the Gemara mentions about a person who just goes to sleep and doesn't daven Ma'ariv, even though Ma'ariv is Rishus, right? It's even more kal than Shabbos and Mincha. But nevertheless, that's what he did. So again, we're not going into all the details at once about what's the permissibility of davening at tashlumim, but the fact that you do have a tashlum, that seems to be to your benefit. But if you're going to do it, you have to do it according to the rules, right? So if you're supposed to make a link between, a connection between that chiyuv that you have and the tashlumim that you had for the what you want to make up, has to be done without a break as much as possible. So everything should be usher, maybe even drinking, but the Mishnah only mentioned about eating, so I'm not sure. Okay.
What is okay, we're going to your offices. What is the Yotzer that he's saying? It sounds like Yotzer is before the Shemona Esrei.
Yotzer Moroz,
Moroz,
I think. You were shot by Yotzer
Yeah, that's
Moroz, right?
before Shemona Esrei.
Yeah, so why? I'm bothered by that. Why do you have to mention that?
Right.
We'll just jump into. He said Shmon Esrei. Why do you have to go? You have to teach Mochel because yeah, he said Psukkah Zimmer. He said Baruch Shomer. He said Kaddish. Well, I'm not sure why. It must be relevant if he's mentioning that.
Okay.
We'll see. Let's give it a chance. Let's just finish again the review. So again, so let's say if a person ate erroneously, right? He started to eat, he doesn't have to stop, okay? Kain Kasav Maganav, that's Maganav. Okay? He didn't know, he thought he has to daven again, another one, but now he's hungry, he wants to start eating, he doesn't have to stop. Aval, and usually the Lashon Aval in the Mishnah Berura is Lashon Psak. Yeah. He's taken the two opinions and he said Aval. Aval is like it's discounting the previous opinion, and he's posting like the second opinion. But Sefer Maxis a shekel, the Sefer Magin Giburim, Hakriyu, they decided I feel Evid mafsik, meaning even though he wasn't supposed to start, but he did start, he was supposed to stop. Why? Nishum Surat Lasama Katvila Shnili Rishina Kol Madish after. There's a special thing that you have to have this connection between the first davening and the second. Why exactly? Haven't gotten to the bottom of that. Just 1 minute, I just want to see what it says here for a second. Page 30. Okay. Okay, I don't know if the, doesn't seem, sends me somewhere, I don't know where. All right, doesn't seem to show up here, I don't know what happened to it. So complicated with that.
Well, 22?
I think it was, what am I looking for? The Gizman, 22, yeah, you have it there?
Yeah, it's on there. It's on there.
Yeah,
It's on the second.
yeah, right, right. Okay, good. What does it mean? Let's see what the Mishna said, because it's Hagia Zman for the Tfilas Tashluim. What does that mean? Do you have it there? You have number 22?
Yeah. The Haidush Hagia is Mano, Gam Shel, Tefilas Tashlumin, because the time to say that the Shum has already come. The Kmoshe Sayin
Magad
Hamagad Avram in
the Shulchan Aruch. We
the
got
Shulchan Aruch
Simin
Reish Lamed Vav
Sif Beis
Sif Beis Sh'af Kodem L'Shar Hatfilos Also Achol, because he holds that even on all davenings it's Ashati before davening. Prati Hedyonim Sham. Hadinim Sham.
Right. So it's since he's explaining, since that the time has come to daven the Tfilas Tashlumim, that has the halacha like all the other prayers that you're not supposed to eat before you take care of your chiyuv to daven. So it's not simply that you have to make it as short a time as possible between the two tefillas. It's because it's like any other prayer. You have to pray before you eat, and therefore it's not a case of the time. Okay. Goes further. Okay, let's see. Kismala mincha. Let's see if that wasn't the case. That was the case of shacharis. So now, what if he's davening mincha?
Okay. Shem Mishpalin Mincha B'Torah Tashlumim L'Tfilas Shacharis. When he says the second mincha is a Tashlumim for Shacharis. Chasad El says above the Simon Ayin Sifkat and Beis. Asher Lo L'Echol Kodem Shenispalel. It's a tefillah harishona. It's us to eat before you say the first tefillah. Shekivin shedayin lo hispal, but also yom, since he's not yet prayed that day, since he's making up for Shabbos. He hasn't prayed that day yet. Noeg bo ha'isr le'echol kodem ha'tefillah ha'tefillah. Okay, and before the Shulchan Aruch and Simon Peites. Sif Gimel, Mishna Berura, Sham, Sif Katan, Kafalef. Bahosif Hatachila LeDavid. He adds Tila David. Okay, Asher Lo Afilu.
The time, even to taste something, not simply to eat, but even to taste something.
Okay, Uda El, Simin Peites, Sif Katan, Kafalef. Vav Chavches. The Gam Asher Lo LaEchol Af Kodem Sheispal Es HaTfilas HaShniya. It's also ushered even for the second tefillah. Kivin Shehu Tashlum L'Shachris, since it's a makeup for Shachris.
Okay, so it's a specific case. Let's say a person for some reason didn't daven Shachris. Okay, So the halacha is, by chakras, you're not supposed to eat anything before chakras, right? So if a person didn't daven chakras, he's not supposed to eat the whole time until he davens his mincha, and even he's not supposed to eat until he davens his second chakras, the second tefillah for chakras, because that second tefillah is like chakras. So the isser, the prohibition of eating, exists all the way up until and through the time he davens his second tashlumin.
From the morning to the afternoon, you can't eat.
If you forgot chakras, you're stuck.
Yeah, but he has breakfast.
He's not supposed to have breakfast.
Not supposed
Wait a
to.
minute, he's having minchas, it's later on. It's hours away.
But
Well, if he's hours away, then he can daven chakras now. So that's not the case. The case is it's already after chatzos. You can't daven chakras anymore.
Yeah, he was obviously on some situation where he couldn't daven chakras the whole time of his zman chakras. Even at the very, the b'di'evet should be b'di'evet just like before chatzos yom, right? And because then even though there's fakis, so you can't, so you have to wait there. So if he's in such a situation, whatever happened, it was some oinus, whatever, and therefore
So you daven late. Shachrit.
he's going to have to daven two mintas, right? He's not going to be able to daven until minta time, right? So therefore, you can't eat, you can't even taste anything until he finishes his second minta.
you should at least encourage him to have mincha early.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean,
It should be
yeah,
mincha to the last
yeah,
minute.
you should. Okay,
That's
that's
right?
yeah. Right. Okay. What is the situation? Okay, let's see, back a bit, go back to, Shlomo Yuda Aleph, in our Mishna.
Yeah, hold on.
Well,
Kuf okay.
okay.
Okay. Lachish Omer.
Yeah, Yuda
Yuda.
Aleph.
Yudah, okay. Rotzler wants to say, Shalo Yafsit L'Chatchila Beineihem B'Shum Dover. You shouldn't interrupt between them for any reason. V'afilu B'Limud Aser, even to learn is Aser. Ki Tefillah Hashlema Tzricha Lios Ba'od She'oskin B'Tefillah Hachiyuva. Because the makeup Tefillah should be tied together with the Tefillah that's a Chiyuv at that point. Yikol Malcolm nearly, in all cases, appears to be the Hazaras shots shall Tefillah Sayuva Mutter L'Shemea Kodem, that he can listen to the Hazaras shots for his Chiyuv before he does his Tashruma.
Because
That's
an
not
important
considered
point.
a hefsek.
Right, that's an important point, because so let's say you have to daven two chakras, right? So you daven the chakras, you can listen to Hazaras shots. Right, and so Mishna says apparently, even though you really have to have a connection between the two tefillas as much as possible, you can wait till after Chazor Shah. What if it's a day of Kriyas Torah? Will you listen to Kriyas Torah also? I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, Mishna should have spoken about such a situation. It's very common. I mean, twice a week.
What if he's the shots?
Oh,
And then therefore should
The second tefillah, Chos Machzir,
can he be mechaber for the Chazor Shas to be his Tashlum? I think
Right,
they
right.
do speak about this. I think it's permitted, if I'm not mistaken. I think that I have to see it inside, look at it again, but I think it's mentioned such a point. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that be great? A dying Osket Tefillah? Is this still considered being involved with the Tefillah of the Chiyuv?
So it could be everything then. If we would have to see it really to say that's the definitive halacha. I would say Kriyas Torah, Tachanun, all these types of things will also be included in that perhaps as well.
Fine Leil Sinan Min Zion, Sif Zion, Masha Kasfenu, Sham Beber Halacha, B'Shem Ha'or Zarua. And go see what we wrote there in Zion, in the name of the Or Zarua.
Okay. So what is this? What was this mention of the? Didn't really explain the.
You have to explain why he says
Yod
Yod
Ser.
Ser. Doesn't say anything about Yod Ser.
Didn't say. Okay, I'll try to find out about that. What did he say about Shmoneh Brachos?
Which one I say Brachas? Rotzah wants to say Im Hatachnun.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. She'omer Ahar Zeh. If you say Tachnun after this, the Ein Lahafsik Dein Shmoneh Esrei B'Tachnun. And you don't interrupt between Shmon Esrei
Right,
Tachanun.
that's a separate din, you're not to use Shmon Esrei, right, because Rosh Hashanah is Tachanun, not to make any interruptions.
So that's all considered the tzarech of the original, of the Chi of Shmon Esrei.
Right, so maybe we could get Tefillah Satorah as well. Maybe we'll see.
Okay. Yom Ashrei,
Oh, why?
it says Ashrei, Kidei La'amod Gam Tfilas Tashlumim Mitoch Divrei Tashlumim Shel Torah.
That's a special halacha that you don't want to start it. You want to be able to start your prayer, Shemona Esrei, with the preface of Divrei Torah, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
that's one reason why I say by mitzvah we say Ashrei. Right, Mariv we don't say Ashrei because we have Kriyas Torah. We have Shema. We have Shema. Shabbos also we have Shema.
V'kral b'simen tzadik gimel v'gam Doha b'lav hachi yiyeh tzarech lomer Ashrei
Limit say.
Lamnatzeh.
Well, it's
And that's what.
the gam the balav hachi, meaning even if you're not going to
Say
have
Ashrei
that, you
itself.
still need to say Ashrei before limit seya. Well, it's meaning for some reason I'm not sure why. You have to say Ashrei before you say limit seya. Well, it's
We said Yomer Achshav below Yomer Achachav. What he's saying is that you say Ashrei before your Tashlumim, and then after your Tashlumim, you just straight to Lamnatzeh. You don't say Ashrei again. Ayin ba'achronim shechiskimu dehu hadin yisfal mincha shtayim b'shvil hashlam. And see the achronim who asking, and this is the din if you have to say mincha twice because of a makeup. Yomer gam kain od pam ashrei. You say the ashrei again. Kodem tefillah sashniya before the second tefillah. So you say ashrei mincha ashrei tashlumim. The kol zeh hu rak l'chachila. This is the achila. About midina ein tzarich l'hafsik bein tefillah l'tefillah rak kedei laholach arba amos. K'mo shekasu la'el b'simin kafei.
That's what we just learned. We meaning you don't have to make any break except Dalet Amos, right? However, since you have to say Ashrei anyway, right? That's all considered Likatfila. You say Ashrei before the Tfilas Tashlumim.
So if you're doing two Shachris, right?
Right.
You say the Ashrei. You say the Ashrei there.
Yeah, you say the Ashrei
And not
Valetzion.
Lamnatzeh.
No, you should be able. That's part of the Tfilah.
No, it says here. You say Shachris, Tachanun, Ashrei,
Tfilah Shniya,
Shniya, Lamnatzeh, and then you say Lamnatzeh.
Okay.
You don't have to say Ashrei twice.
No,
You
no.
have to say it between them, but you don't have to say. You don't have to say it again afterwards. That's
Okay.
what he's saying.
That's by Shabbos.
Okay.
Okay, now one more we'll do today. That'll be Yudalid.
Yudad, Bain. This is Bain Tefillah. Kedei lahashlim b'zeh gam ha'ashrei shahaya tzarich lomer kodem mincha. This includes, this lets you complete the ashrei that has to be said before mincha.
Yes, I mean it's like it's a hashlama for the ashrei. It was a person says 3 ashreis every day is muftach but beno Movavi, I think. So you want to make a tashlumi for that ashrei you missed out yesterday.
Okay, right. Okay, so you're saying Marav twice.
This is by Myra, yeah.
Okay. Yesh.
Even though it's another day, so I don't know why do you need a shlama of the ashrei? It's a new day. So
Well, you got to show for the Shmon Esrei too. It's a new day. It's
that the whole concept is not the understanding of it. We haven't discussed that. Right?
V'yesh me'achronim shekasu kishem hamikubalim, and there are achronim who write the names of the Kubalim shalom lomer ashrei ba'arvis. You don't say ashrei in arvis.
You see.
Af shehu b'shvil tfilas mincha. Even when you have to say a makeup. Gam kein yesh lahachmir b'zeh. And you should also be machmir about this.
Not to say ashrei.
Not to say ashrei.
See, the small print in the Mechaber, right, mentioned that you should say ashrei to make up for a tashlumi of mincha when you say arvis twice. And now b'shem kubalin, you should bring down that you should not say an ashrei at my house.
Yes, we have a difference of opinion here.
Yes, we do.
How do we go?
Not-
Well,
how do we
that's-
go there?
Not the first time.
Let's see, let's finish the Mishnah Berura. Go ahead.
The custom derechayim should derechayim the eich she'adam yanheg b'zeh yesh lo al mi shesamach. Whichever way you do it, you have somebody to rely upon. Ach kol zman shehu yom lo yemana mi lomer ashrei hu achar tefillah mincha. And even as long as it's still day, you should not refrain from saying ashrei, even if you already prayed mincha.
Meaning, I imagine that, or even if he didn't say mincha, but let's say he realized so let him say the ashrei sometime during the day, right? Well, let's say sometimes a person comes late for davening, and
He's already he comes in time for Shemona Esrei,
right,
for Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
So he says Shemona Esrei,
And then say ashrei
And then say
afterwards.
ashrei.
Apparently, again, there should be specific halachas about this, but just based on what we see in the Mishnah Berura, apparently that's something which we could do.
Alkein in
Here, this is our case. Okay, imi is achir.
in this acher uva lebeis hakneses b'shar shehatzibur hitchilu tefillas mincha. If he comes late, he gets to shul when people are already saying mincha. Yishpal imahem v'yomer ashrei acharav. He prays with them and he says ashrei after that. V'ayin b'magen avram shekasav midibur hazohar mashma zafilu ba'ofen zeh lo yomru adaita techova rak bekorei b'torah. That this is not the chiyuv b'ashrei that he's saying. He's just saying
He
words
should,
of
he
Torah.
should not. There seems to be some difficulty, Alpi Kabbalah, that saying after you've done mincha, not to say ashrei for some reason. The mitzan koiv of saying ashrei. So rather than you shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't say after davening?
According to
If you didn't say
the
before
Zohar,
davening.
according to the Zohar,
It's about mincha, right?
by mincha, right, and certainly not at
You can
night.
say ashrei anytime you want.
Yeah, but the
But
question
not
is,
as part of tefillah.
yeah, not as far as your choiv of saying ashrei. You want to say, you can say all tefillin, Tehillim right now. You can say the whole day. You can say tefillin. If you're saying ashrei mitzvah Tehillim, you're saying it Tehillim. But if you're saying it because I
What
have a
about saying
chiyuv,
it early?
well, how early do you want to say it? For example,
Okay, I have a shear,
right,
and the shear is in the shul.
right,
And the shear is going to be interrupted by mincha.
okay,
But by the time I get up and get in there, they're finished ashrei.
right.
So before the shear starts, I want to say ashrei.
Mm-hmm.
So that when the time comes, so like let's say it's a half an hour, 45 minutes earlier, so that when the time comes and I get up and I rush in, and I get there as they finish ashrei, I've already said it. So I'm,
What time is the meeting?
the minyan is it's at a little before sunset.
Okay.
The shear starts like at 4 and the minyan's at 4:30.
Right. There is such a thing as saying the ashrei in the presence of the minyan, but that's a little bit for the sake of the minyan, not the individual. If you're gonna have to look into it, but if you're gonna lose out saying ashrei entirely, so it might be worthwhile saying it ahead of time. I'll have to check. Remind me. I'm sorry, we'll do time.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, this Yud Dalet is what the Mishnah was referring back by Dalet Kuf Hey, where we started the day. Yet according to the Mishnah Berura, the case of having to wait Dalet Amos between Tefillah and Tefillah only exists if you're davening Ma'ariv, and apparently only according to those who are machmir for the Mukubalim, right? Because then you're not going to say an ashrei. According to the Makaber, this one, which I don't know if that's the Ramah. I don't have a, but that
It doesn't sound like, it doesn't look like Shemona.
no, it's a smak rivash. It's a smak and rivash according to you. So those that I'm not sure if the Ramah added that or it's another note that was put in. So according to them, you say ashrei between one ma'ariv to the next ma'ariv is a tashlumim for the mincha that the person missed. So then you don't have to wait dalamos. But according to the Mishnah Berura, the Mukubalim, in your Dalet of the Mishnah Berura, you would need to wait the Zman to walk Dalet Amos. Okay, we'll continue this Mitzvah Shem more tomorrow.